It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show.
Season's greetings. God bless you to each of you. Welcome to the JaeTae Show. Hey.
I thought we was gonna get a jingle. Hey guys, welcome to the JaeTae Show. Welcome to the JaeTae Show.
All right, welcome y'all. We are picking up midways through chapter 10. Y'all, I'm telling you, this book has truly been a blessing in a season where it is absolutely needed. That's what I love about God. Bishop wrote this years ago, but it is blessing us in our now season to help us get through, because there are obviously some great things that God has in store for us. And so to be able to read this and to receive what it is teaching and to believe it, I'm truly trusting that great things are on the way. All right, JaeTae, I have given us an introduction. You want to get us kicked off? Oh, okay, all right. We're starting on page 174 in the section entitled See for Yourself. And Bishop starts this, and I thought it was very interesting with how now the cross, which was a symbol of such horror and just shame. I mean, it was really a nasty, dirty, disgusting, horrific way for someone to die. And now for us to wear freely crosses around our necks, or for it to now be such an emblem of hope. He shares that thought of that concept of that change. And he said, without crushing, there is no wine. Without crucifixion, there is no crime. And he goes on to say, all of this that Jesus did when he rose from the grave, it was to indelibly brand his flock with this powerful, profound point that crushing is not the end. And even thinking about the cross and the fact of knowing, even though Jesus experienced this horrific death, that was not the end. It looked like it was over. And it, in fact, for quite a few hours, it was over. But what we have is the hope of the resurrection, that Jesus did get up and that he will never die again. He is not like any other person who was resurrected. He will never die again. And because of the power that raised him, that keeps him alive and will continue to keep him alive, it's the same power that is made available to us. And so to know that and to receive that, then also to read that no crucifixion, without crucifixion, there is no crown. It just makes me think about all of the things that we've been going through, things that we've been through, and it wasn't a natural crucifixion, but there are some mental things that we have endured that's just like, my God, how much more can a person take? And some things that you've endured that you can't believe that you've taken, but knowing that even through that, on the other side, there is something greater. And he said it's important for people to see that there is something on the other side of poverty, shame, disgrace, suffering, and death. And he said they had to see the empty tomb. Think about some of the things that we have to see in this life just to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so I truly believe that God is truly showing us what this crushing is all about, and what comes as a result of the fermented wine. All right, I have one more thing on this page, JaeTae, and it was the impact of his crushing spread from them across the world. That stood out to me, because it usually is the story of our crushing that goes far. They'll know that we got crushed before they know that we hosted a success conference or put out an amazing song, they'll know about the crushing before they know that. And just the thought of what kind of impact happens when people know that you've been crushed, but then they also get to experience your wine. That came to mind. All right, Shantae, you have anything on that page?
I actually had the same stuff highlighted that you did.
Oh.
But you didn't say without pain, no power, without suffering, no success.
Mhm.
Made me think about no cross, no crown. And this, we shall wear a crown at everybody's funeral. It made me think, did they go through some crushing to wear this crown?
Mm.
We don't know.
Mm.
We said we're gonna put on the white robe and tell a story, but what was the crushing that they endured? What crushing came with it in order to tell the story?
Mm. And truly, truly, each one of us has some crushing. This life is filled with trouble. And, I often think about that, the things that we leave behind, and just to imagine the evidence of the crushing that's left behind. A lot of times we think that everything is everything, but a lot of times the foundations are shaky. It's a lot of things that were built on this and that, and it just wasn't all firm and everything together. And it shows you that life it is not easy, and that it's sometimes one of the things, and we'll get to it, I'm sure. Well, I'll go ahead and say it while it's on my mind. But Bishop goes on to say about people who he talks about people who get caught up in the cycle of crushing and never really break through to understand why they were crushed, to become that wine. And I just thought that was interesting because in a way you do understand how people can get, how we can get caught up in that cycle of crushing, where it's just like, it's one thing after another, and it's like, okay, what is this happening for? Where's the growth? What am I supposed to be getting from this? What is the purpose of having to experience this? And so I'm on page 178 now.
Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
Past 178? Okay, well, I have some on 176. But when you said that, it made me think about one time Pastor BJ. Pastor BJ said that when we're in those seasons or those moments, we start to believe. And although we're praying for God to do, or I'm saying, whatever your prayer is, because we've been in that place for so long and that's all we see, we really we believe God can do it, but in the back of our mind, we like, can you really do it? Because are you really going to do it? Yeah, not can you, forgive me.
No, you can, but
are you really going to do it? Because it's not seeming like it's going to change. It doesn't seem like anything is changing, but I'm steady praying this prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of us just praying it and giving it to God, sometimes I feel that way when I say my prayers. Like, I know God heard me the first time. Why am I saying the same prayer over and over and over? I'm thinking, is that pushing my waiting time back? Because I'm like pressuring God, like, okay, Lord, like this is on the forefront.
I will say for me, a lot of my prayer time has just more so, especially as it relates to things that I have been continually asking God for, it has become a continual daily thank you in advance. Instead of just asking God for it, I'm just thanking him, believing him that it's going to come to pass. It is not easy. Especially again when you have been waiting for so long, but just the thought of knowing that he's able really helps to continue to go. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to the next person that has something that they really need God to do for them and that they have been praying and praying? What advice do you give?
Truly, the only advice that we can receive is that you just have to trust and wait. What else are you going to do? Some things some things, and that's one of the reasons why instead of now just praying the serenity prayer, I thank God for the serenity prayer as well. I thank Him for the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. But I also thank Him for the courage to change the things that I can. And that makes a difference because really and thanking Him for the wisdom to know the difference, having the wisdom to understand the difference between what I can change and what God can change really makes a difference, because there are some things that I can do that will help, even if nothing else, put things in place for when God does do what He's going to do. I've already done my part, but then there are other parts of it that's God's job. It's nothing that I can do to make it come any quicker or even to delay it. When He says it's time, it's going to just happen. It's going to be, and all I can trust. All I can do is trust that He is going to bring it to pass. That's really the only encouragement that I can offer, because I'm literally in that spot right now with several things of just waiting and truly believing that somehow, some way, God is going to work it out and it's going to come to pass. Right now, it looks bleak. It looks kind of hopeless. But my thought is, I'm thanking God in advance that no matter what it looks like right now, I know that He is able to bring it to pass. So that was my long answer.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so on 176, what did you have?
When we face the darkest moments of our lives, there is something to hold on to the other side of. There's shame in every bad decision. And then he goes on to give a few examples: divorce, bankruptcy, scandals, different things like that. But if we drink from the cup of hope, then this present suffering is not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be received in us.
Revealed in us.
And what did I say?
I think you said received, I think.
Lord have mercy. I can't see my.
That's okay. But what I got out of that, I don't know, you paused, so I'm just jumping on in. If we can drink from the cup of hope, that to me, of all of that, I didn't highlight that, but because you read it, it really just stood out to me, because if we can just drink from the cup of hope, if we can just keep hope alive, if we can keep hoping, even in the midst of these situations that seemingly are just impossible to work out, and it looks like it's just not going to happen. That too, if we can keep hoping, and I thought that really stood out to me. And the other thing I had on this page, I did highlight as well, there is something on the other side of it. I just highlighted that part of it because I would highlight the fact, of course, that it's on the darkest side on the other side of the darkest moments of our lives. But what got me as well was above that, where it says there is something beyond the pain that we may feel at this moment. And even though Bishop is asking a question right there, that's the nugget that we're supposed to get out of that sentence, is that there is something beyond the pain that we may feel at this moment. And I think that's one of the things I'm getting from this book as well, that is absolutely encouraging in those lower moments, is understanding, sitting in that moment of pain, that depression, that discouragement, that disappointment. Because the thing about it is, if you're going to live and you're going to be dealing with people, you're going to deal with disappointment. Yeah. And so I'm learning to just understand that comes with life, and to be able to understand, while that disappointment, that feeling of disappointment is so present, that this is going to pass. When we have locked in on this too shall pass, We have locked in on that because we just have come to the understanding and revelation that whatever we're dealing with, it literally will pass. That will not be the big main thing that's bothering us always. Something else is going to come up and take its place. We will actually, at some point, probably forget that we even were dealing with this. And so, even though it is pressuring you in that moment, you just move on because you realize it's going to pass. And as you continue going, you realize it has passed and is over with.
But the human side is that we don't just move on.
Uh-oh.
We don't. We get down in the dumps, saying like we dwell on it. Some people sleep, some people eat, some people drink or whatever, I'm saying their choice is to help them in that moment. You know what I'm saying? But then when you realize that it doesn't really numb the situation, it kind of makes you think like when a person, like say they get depressed and they get into bed. To me, that will make you think more about the situation and actually being productive to keep your mind off of it. So instead of getting down and shutting down, get up and do something so that, does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, get up and do something.
Well, it's just because that's just a natural thing to do is to just shut down because we are human. But I think that if God sees us working through it, then victory shall be on the other side of it.
And even if we don't work through it, it's going to be getting through it anyway. I mean, but that's that's the thing about it is, even though it's over, what you're saying is it's still playing in our minds. It's still as fresh in our minds as if it was taking place right now. And that is sometimes that is like the hardest thing to deal with when it's a past event, but when you think about it, it's as if it just freshly happened. It's that
because we're human.
That intense at times. That is what a human condition, what a condition of our humanity. Page 177, the cross began to represent something sacred, sacrificial, and sacramental. That just goes back. He was doing further, he had done an evaluation to try to find out, or research to try to find out where the cross became this emblem of hope. And this is what he shares, that it changed from this horrific emblem to now this representation of something sacred and sacrificial. He goes on to say the cross only marked a place of agony, but it became an emblem of Christ crushing. And I just think about, what are the emblems of our crushing? What are the residue? What are the things that do remain as a result of our crushing? And a lot of times for us, it seems like that tends to be things that are mental in their being. It's not necessarily a physical something that we see, but the way we respond to situations now, the way that we handle situations, just all of that wrapped up into being the sign that this person has been crushed, this person has been through something. And that, when I say that and think about that, it goes back to something else Bishop said, which is at the forefront of my thoughts now, is how is it that we see this in others and aren't able to really minister to that? You know what I'm saying? We see that this individual has obviously been crushed and that something is going on, but we often don't have the words or whatever to be able to try and help them through, or let them know that they're not alone or something. I just think that's interesting.
What you just said made me think about scars, or boo-boos or whatever. Like when you get a boo-boo or a scar, well, a boo-boo at that time, it's an open wound and it's bleeding and it's hurting. That's what happens when we're going through crushing. We're bleeding, we're hurting, but then it scabs over. But then sometimes we pick that scab. You know, like my kids at work, like they pick on their little sword.
Okay. Okay.
They cry
Oh,
because it's hurting again.
yes.
But that's what we do.
Oh,
We
wow.
pick our own
Oh.
scars when God is trying to heal us from that crushing, move us into the next season. We pick on them.
Wow.
We pick and we pick at it, and then when it's scab over, we pick at it again.
Okay,
But
JaeTae, come on.
not that way, Jay. But
yeah, but I get
when you finally stop picking at it, all you have left is a scar, and that's there forever. But you can't see the scars that are on our hearts.
wow.
So as our hearts continue to get broken and shattered and all kind of things, you don't realize that it's there because it's scabbed over, or you're covering it with the suits and the hats and the makeup and the wigs and all this stuff. But on the inside, it's just scars and scab that's been picked and okay, you got it.
Yes, we got it. Thank you so very much. But
Jay.
seriously, when you say that, I think I was thinking about just how my response is ugh. But it seems like on the inside, that's kind of what we do to ourselves when we pick at it.
That's exactly
it's like ugh.
Why?
Ugh.
Just let it.
Yes, leave it alone. Ugh. And it's just like we just
picking it.
and I think sometimes the hardest part of this is when you are doing your best to leave it alone and something outside of you triggers you and reminds you
or
something comes up against it and you're reminded of that again and again. Here it is, just as fresh as when it originally happened. Oh my gosh. Anyway, okay, I'm on page 178. Oh God. Is that better? Okay.
178, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whether we want to or not, all of us must pick up some kind of cross and follow Jesus into suffering. We all have our own crosses to bear. We all go through crushing, but we must never forget crushing is not the end. It ain't over until God says it's over.
He go at the beginning of the page, he says, basically nobody else would advertise its shame and horror and use it as a brand. He's still talking about the cross. And just the thought of that, you wouldn't, when we look at the cross now, we don't see shame or horror, but that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it represents. But Jesus, the story of Jesus, his life, caused it alone. His life alone caused it to become something else. And I know people say what they will say, but just to see the impact of this name throughout generations, he did something that nobody else has been able to do. His name continues, and we're still talking about him. We're still praising him. We're still giving him the glory. We're still giving him the honor because of what we have heard about him. We've heard and we believe. And that in itself speaks so much. And that he was able to endure the shame. It talks about it. But one of the things I highlight is overcoming shame. He was able to overcome the shame because he knew that in him coming and doing what he needed to do and getting up out of that grave and being raised back, that he was able to overcome that shame of having to go through that, because now he's seated on the right-hand side of the Father with a name that is above all name. And so why not? His name is Jesus.
But you said he. Let the people know who he is.
His name is Jesus. God used a woman to transform how we see the cross, just as he used women to carry the message of Christ's resurrection back to men. I thought that was just interesting to make sure we're aware of just how God has used women throughout history all together to make such indelible contributions to our society. And just the thought of this, even as we prepare for the Shattered Cost of a Yes conference, and to have women on our panel and know, one of my favorite pastors was a woman pastor and just preachers all together. And to know that there are people who do not believe that women should spread the gospel. Here are examples, even pertaining to Christ, how women were used to spread the news. And so what an honor to be able to just point that out. He says also, there is a fellowship among those who know the pain of suffering. I thought that was very important to point out, because a lot of times that is how we identify with one another. Because, even as we watch The Circle, the people are able to make a quote unquote genuine connection on The Circle because they both have had some kind of similar pain that they've experienced. But that it does speak something to us as human beings, that we do find ourselves sharing in our suffering. If I find out that you went through this and I went through something similar, now we have something that connects us, that we can kind of share about. Somebody who has at least a modicum of understanding about how I feel.
So then all believers should be on one accord then, right?
It seems like it should be.
Okay.
But, and the truth is, there's so much that comes to divide us. That is the enemy's job. But it's up to us to focus on the things that unite us versus what divides us. And that is the biggest problem. We are so focused on the division and what is the problem among us, instead of focusing on, okay, these are things that we're getting right. These are the things that we do have in common that we can identify with one another on.
It just kills me because we don't have the ability to change it.
But it's up to each, it's just truly, it's up to each individual, period and point blank. I mean, and that's the thing, like we literally could only do our part. We can share and try to say, things to others to help encourage them, but ultimately we're responsible for our actions in all of this. And that's the Lord help us, Lord Jesus help us, please help us, Lord Jesus, please help us. We need your help, for real.
Truly we do.
All right, page 179. He said, this is the only thing I highlighted, it gave me the greatest joy to show them there was more.
I have but clinging to the truth, it can be so hard when everything around you is slipping away.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to endure beyond the crushing and trust that there was life beyond this tomb. That this too shall pass.
The thing that got me about the show them there was more, it just made me think about what God has in store for us, and knowing what we're reading in Crushing. The crushing had a purpose, and that was to bring forth new wine. And so while we're in the fermentation process, that's the time we're hoping. That's the time we're trusting. That's the time we're believing and having to hold on to the hope that there is something greater to come. And so just the thought of God knowing that there is greater to come and wanting to show us more, that just, just the thought of that gives, it's like it refreshes your hope. Just to even think that God is planning something that really is gonna blow our mind. It is gonna really show us more, and that it's gonna make him feel the same way Bishop was able to feel as he's sitting reclining in his chair watching his children splash around in their indoor pool and thinking about it was one season of their lives where they were without lights, you know what I'm saying? And to see the difference. And it's almost like right now we are in that. Thank God that's not truly the case, but this is more the identifying of the season without the lights. This is the type of season we're in now, and so to imagine more, and that's in a house that has indoor pool. Now I don't want no indoor pool, but just the shift of things that could happen to take you to a place like that, and so. I think it's things like that for me that just keep me going, knowing that there is more. And that's probably one of the hardest things about living in this dispensation is we have access to see people living in homes like that. We watch all this HGTV and seeing homes being renovated and seeing what people are able to do. And I'm just talking, this is just natural things that are being done. And to know that it is possible. We're not living in a place where all we see is hopelessness and despair and degradation around us. We actually see images of the good parts of life. Sometimes we have the ability to drive past or even get in our cars, you know what I'm saying? We get to experience some of these things, but knowing there is more, we get to see that there is more in this life. And that can be a good thing, and that can also be a bad thing because you're wanting that more and desiring that more. But then there's a thin line between jealousy and envy and all of this and coveting, because even though I see this and it looks like it would be nice to attain, getting all the music out looks like it would be amazing. Having a song book with every song scored, and then have the orchestration score so that we can bring in the orchestra to accompany, and all these other different bands and stuff. I'm telling you, Lord have mercy, just the thought of having all of that done. But you don't think about all that goes into that, all the other stuff that comes along with the process of that. But we see the finished product, and we want that, but we don't want the things that you go through to get there. All of that wrapped into that.
It made me think about, like, you talked about the house on HGTV and all this and all that. All that stuff comes with a price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It comes with, it's after you go, and this is a price after you've been crushed.
Wow.
Like, it's still gonna come with something, no matter what. I thought about the house. I've been watching this girl on TikTok, and she's showing houses. Okay, house rent is $3,000. Then you got HOA fees, and you got this. You got to have flood insurance and all that, and it equals like $7,000, $8,000. And I'm thinking, is it worth it? We want, you know what I'm saying? Like, it comes with something. It all comes with something. You want to eat, but you got to get out your house to go get it. Go to the store to get this. Everything comes with price.
Yeah.
It comes with it.
Wow.
There's no way of getting around it. After you get crushed to get it, then it comes with holding on to it.
But more crushing.
And crushing.
Okay, I'm on page 180. You have anything?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay. The wine now being opened from the crushing he had endured for my sake. And just to talk about Christ he was saying he wished his father could have lived long enough to see him with his children, and seeing the wine now open from the crushing he had endured for my sake. And it did make me think about Christ, and that he's able to, as our lives evolve and we become who it is that he created us to be, that he's able to see the wine being open from the crushing he endured. And that is a blessing. Just the thought of knowing that our lives are bringing him great joy because he's seeing his suffering being for a purpose. It's being endured and utilized for a purpose.
And that we're walking in what he called us to be, instead of throwing in the towel and just, becoming a dirty old man, remaining faithful to what God has called, so that he can really get the glory and be happy and be, that it was not wasted.
Wow. Truly, truly. He goes on to talk about Coretta Scott King and the things that she endured. And he said her crushing fermented into the wine of experience, wisdom, and influence. I thought that was just interesting that we go through so much, but out of that, what God is able to birth, such as the experience that we wouldn't have if we hadn't been crushed, the wisdom that is gained from that. And sometimes we don't even recognize the influence that we receive as a direct result of our crushing. Okay, we continue to read on because we are so close to chapter 11. And so page 181, I just highlighted, crushing has become a hopeless cycle from which there is no escape. You accept that weight as your reality rather than a temporary predicament. You make yourself comfortable in a crushing place, and you never really believe that crushing is not the end. That's what I was referring to earlier. This is exactly it. And just the thought of being in that place, I have felt like I was there in past seasons of my life. Like it did not look like there was any coming out of this. There are some things that you do in this life, especially when you have been warned and you're disobedient and you do them anyhow. You begin to think, okay, well, I did it. Now some evil is going to befall me, or some curse or some negativity is going to befall. And so you're anticipating that your life becomes hopeless, and you believe that no good can come of this. And as you live on, God begins to show you what you were believing was a lie. That is not the truth of your life, that I can work all things together for good if you just trust and believe. In fact, even without you trusting and believe, I'm working things together for your good. And then as you witness that, as you see that, what an honor and what a privilege. But just to have been if you've ever been caught up in that cycle of feeling like your crushing has become this relentless cycle, and God allows you to get free, let me tell you something. You are definitely going to be grateful. Gratitude certainly comes as a result of getting free from that. All right,
I listened to a podcast last night, and then I'm pretty sure it was entitled Premeditated Sin.
Oh.
And the lady was talking, and she was talking for a while, and I had clicked off and clicked back on, but she was talking, and she said that she would go to work and she would come home, get dressed, and have a premeditated sin night. Like she knew that she was gonna sin. Oh. And it's funny, but it's not funny. It made me think about all the times where I got up and knew I was gonna go do something bad. Oh. And it is so sad, but I never thought about it as a premeditated sin. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something I was going to do, but I'm thinking, I know that it's a sin. I know I'm going to do wrong, and I'm still doing this. So is it a premeditated sin? Oh. God still forgives, and in spite of. Because, well, you know better, you're supposed to do better. When you have a premeditated sin, or you make a booty call date, that's a premeditated sin. But God still doesn't kill us in our sin. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jay, I'm gonna have to send you the podcast because it's nothing like hearing premeditated sin. That hit me hard. Yeah. It really did, because It's something to get up, take a shower, get dressed to go to work.
Oh,
But it's something else to take a shower, get dressed to go lay down in somebody else's bed.
wow.
That's something. That's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, I'm gonna salute you for going to get clean first.
help us, Lord.
Yeah, but you know what I have to make funny, but it really that really is something.
Yeah,
Just the thought of
God
it.
don't have to let you make it there.
That's true.
He could kill you on your way to your premeditated sin.
That's why when you get through it and you realize that he has given you grace and mercy again,
Yes.
especially because
Yes.
it seems like there are times, even though you are aware that you're doing these things, that you just haven't come to the awareness of just how merciful and gracious God has been. But then when he allowed you to actually realize,
Yeah.
I've been keeping you, and
Yes.
and he shows you that, then you should certainly share gratitude and be grateful for him keeping you,
What's the
and hopefully make some changes.
that help us, Lord.
Help us. Help us.
Help us.
And you know, if people say it's, you know, one thing, but it really does take time, especially once you realize that, okay, God, listen, I was doing it because it felt good.
Yeah.
I was doing it because I enjoyed. Yeah, that's why I was premeditated, because it was good. Especially I just said I'm getting off from work and I'm going to take a bath. If I'm taking a bath, I want to get in the bed and curl up and be a rest and do something relaxing. But I'm going for, what did you call it?
Premeditated sin.
Well, no, you said some kind of Buddha. I know it's Buddha call involved, but it was extra word because I wanted to remember that. But anyway. It's that, but you're going through all of that. It was something good about it. And so now, God, I really need you to help me with this, because you have shown me that you have been gracious and merciful to me in this, but my flesh enjoyed that. And I'm on this weighs on the scale of the serenity to accept the things I can't change. I need your help to change this. Okay.
But you know, it just doesn't go for sex, it goes for anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a premeditated sin, I don't want to put sex over as the big category, which it is a big one, but that goes for anything that we do. Like if we know, and what came to my mind is that when she was doing it, she had I cannot think of the song, but she just kept having a part play over and over of something about my sins on the cross. I'll never know how much. So, I don't know. I couldn't listen to the song and her, but that's what she just kept having that part like play over and over and over. And I was like, "You trying to convict us? You trying to like what you trying to do here?"
I'll tell you what, that's my favorite part of the song.
But you know, she just really broke it down. Like, you know, I could have chose to go the opposite way, you know, or I could have thought about, you know, God saved me the last time I had a premeditated sin, but this time I'm choosing to go back and do the same sin again. I'm like, Lord, help us. Seriously.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to find it.
Well,
of course, I was on TikTok.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna watch JaeTae. So, but anyway,
it was a good podcast. It really was.
Okay. All right, page 182 is the last page I have. Mm-hmm. Did I miss something? No, that was the last one for me. All right. Realize our shared condition and that nothing will ever be the same again. Realize our shared condition. And Bishop had talked about different people and how jobs shifted and things happened in their lives, and they went from having to not having, and how all of us really are on a lot of the same footing, that our condition is the same. Things could shift and turn upside down in a moment's notice, and in a blink of an eye. And so, and there are things that we go through that our lives are never the same again. And being able to accept that and pivot with it, that really becomes so necessary, because you can really get stuck. I'm going back, getting stuck into that cycle of being crushed, where it just seems like this is it. I'm just conceding to the fact that crushing is it. My life will never get better. In fact, this is all I can look forward to. And that is not what God has for us. And so I'm grateful for the privilege to have something to look forward to.
Hope.
Yeah.
Truly. Because it really can make you get stuck in that place when you feel a certain type of way, then you see things a certain, then you walk out and it's, it's like what I'm seeing or what I'm feeling on the inside, I'm seeing on the outside and everywhere around you.
Oh God.
It's like there's no escape from it. So how am I supposed to have hope when literally I'm seeing it, feeling it, tasting it?
Oh God.
Literally.
Oh. So that brings us back to the thought of having to keep hope alive, having to truly keep our trust in God. And that brings us back to the word of encouragement that was asked for earlier. That literally is all that we can do. I've said this many times, but it's so many layers to being us as humans. I thought about my life and the totality thereof, and things that I kind of pushed back to the back and didn't realize you could be called, you could be named, you could be labeled, you could be this, you could be that. But to see just where God has us and that He is keeping us, that He is sustaining us, what an honor and what a privilege that you don't take this opportunity lightly that we have been given to share. And so, y'all, this is our 25th episode, 25 weeks. We've been doing this 25 plus weeks, but this is the actual 25th episode. Of course, you all know that we have done many Facebook posts that did not quote unquote count as our official JaeTae show, but as we've been doing these and posting them on Facebook and also including our first book, Crushing. This is 25 weeks. Happy 25 weeks, the JaeTae show.
Didn't talk about my last page yet.
Oh, go ahead.
Just want to did you read these last 3 sentences? Okay, well, I don't know where I was.
No, I didn't read them for me, but I read them in the book.
Okay, I'm gonna read them for y'all. This is the ending of the chapter. So this is what y'all need to digest moving forward. It's time all of us. It's time to stop living in the past. It's time to leave the tomb behind. And it's time to taste the new wine God producing in your life. Let it go. Let it go.
Amen. Well,
Jay, you got to stop looking at me like that, like you wait on something else. Did you wait on something else?
Oh, God. God bless you all, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode, the 25th episode.
Have a good night.
Good night.
It's the JaeTae